How are yous doing? It's the Michael Harding podcast. July the 16th. Lord God, do you know what I do? Sometimes repeat the first few words about 20 times when I'm trying to get into the mood, into the zone, trying to start the podcast, and I do it and listen and do it and listen, and every time I delete it, and it sometimes it drives me crazy. And then once I'm in it, it's like you're in the room with me. I'm up in Donegal this week, and it's like you're in the room with me. So I think that's the thing that happens to me. It takes a certain amount of effort to get into the zone, but into the zone is like being here now. It's being present to you, and I just think it's so strange that you can be present to somebody even though technically you're not in the same room. But I am present, and you are present. Now that's irrational. Maybe I'll come back to it later, I don't know. The thing about these podcasts is I do always have a plan, but I never follow it. And part of my plan was to share a little reflection I made in 2012, and I'll go on with that to start with, see how far we go. It was one day it was July of 2012, and I saw two old men in Bray. They were sitting outside a coffee shop, their walking sticks on the ground, as they chatted like jolly pirates. I had just bought a CD of Verdi's Nabucco in a charity shop for €1, so I wasn't too depressed either. And then a dark-haired American woman waved at me from the grocery shop next to the coffee shop, where she was buying an apple. She waved because we had met earlier in the laundrette, where she had been stuffing clothes into a machine. She was about to put a euro coin into the slot when I stopped her and explained that she needed to buy tokens at the counter. I averted my eyes from the delicate lace items she was stuffing into the mouth of the machine, but the intimacy of the moment made us friends, and she said she was travelling with her family and that they were all up in the Royal Hotel. She agreed to join me for coffee later while she waited for her wash to be finished. I showed her my CD and she said, "Ah," and smiled. So I had a lot to be jolly about. And at the next table there was a conversation rattling on that I couldn't resist listening to. "You're looking good," one old man said to the other old man. "Yes," his friend replied, "but you should see the insides." And they both laughed. In fact, the pair of them looked as jaundiced as dandelions. I finished my coffee with the American lady, who was waiting for her clothes to be washed, and then I headed off. I wanted to get beyond the M50 before rush hour. I'd been invited to a swanky barbecue that evening in Westmeath, not far from Mullingar. It was to celebrate the 18th birthday of a young girleen, a teenage queen. She was standing under a laburnum tree in a summer dress, gazing into the eyes of a lanky English boy who played bongo drums for a living and was in turn gawking at the world like he was a nervous meerkat. Big fancy elegant Bosch speakers were pumping out the jagged rhythms of some dysfunctional rapper. As I approached the laburnum tree, the lanky boy vanished into the white marquee, and the young queen seemed unbearably melancholic. So I sidled up to her, and I said in a jolly fashion, "Methinks he has bewitched your bosom." It's a quote from Shakespeare, to which she gave no reply. I think she thought bosom was a dirty word that old people use. I handed over the CD, but she looked at it in some bewilderment. "It's probably not your kind of music," I said, "but I do recommend it." "Thanks," she said, reading Verdi's name with her lips. "I've heard of them." I tried a final time at communication. "No fire tonight," I observed, seeing that it was midsummer. This she may have construed as a reference to her own emotional lethargy, for she replied in what I thought an aggressive tone that there was plenty of fire in her. And then she headed off towards the tent of sausages where the bongo boy had gone. And I hadn't time to explain that in the old days midsummer parties were often accompanied by bonfires. But there was certainly no fires on her daddy's property, where despite the recession the lawns were cut and the gardens resplendent with roses, as girls danced in the white marquee and boys hung around a dainty clay chimney on the patio smoking and gawking at the marquee like an entire battalion of stunned meercats. I didn't stay long because I find it hard to sustain a mask of jollity among young people. And as the General often tells me, there are those that are jolly and those that are sad, and nothing can be done about it. It's a long time ago since a midsummer fling filled me with fire. One evening in Donegal, just outside a youth hostel on Arranmore Island, in 1968. A college girl from Galway with sandy hair, parted in the middle and large ice blue eyes, was singing Anachy Gordon. For Anachy Gordon, he's bonny and he's rough, he'd entice any woman that ever he saw. He'd entice any woman, and so he has done me. And with that she glanced at me. I was 15, and my world had changed forever. Because I was passing through Mullingar, I dropped into the nursing home that evening to see my mother, where she slept and dreamt all day in her cot. And I confessed once again that I loved her. But she didn't seem to recognize me. Maybe she too was dreaming of the songs that shaped her in the summers long ago.